Welcome to my tutorial of Comical Machine Gun Joe. And yeah, this game has a really weird fucking title. I'm not sure, what the fuck it's about, but basically you just run around with a machine gun and spray everybody. So it's an arcade style game, and it loops after 6 stages. So this is just going to be a quick tutorial. It took me about 2.5 hours to beat. So it's actually pretty challenging for a game that's only about 5 minutes long to beat. So what I did was I set my fire button to rapid fire. I found that was really useful. And I actually used an arcade joystick that I had modded. So it was basically a Hori Rap 4 Pro. And there's a Hayabusa joystick in that controller, which I took it out and put it in another base. So it's pretty much that joystick with some Sanwa buttons. And it works great, because that joystick is real loose, and it's kind of like a real quick kind of joystick for, performing fighting moves and shit like that. And it's the one I use to beat Gunsmoke Arcade, so it's really good for games where you're really switching firing directions really quick. But you can totally play this with a D-pad. It just may give you some thumb, fatigue, because you're going to constantly be moving left and right rapidly. So either way, it's fine. But if you playing on an emulator, I would recommend setting the fire button to rapid fire. It does make things a lot easier. The only thing is you have to release the button fully when you want to jump, because it won't let you jump if you're firing. It's a weird control kind of issue with the game, but you have to remember to do that. So aside from that, the main thing is you want to try to take enemies out as soon as they spawn. That's the main thing. And enemies are going to start firing faster, and their bullets are going to be faster as well. So as you get farther in the levels, the enemies start to become more aggressive, and they'll fire faster. It won't take as much time before they fire off their shot, and it'll be a lot faster. And that's basically all there is to the game as far as the enemies. There's only 3 different types of enemies. You die in one hit, and there's no continues. But mainly you'll have you have just regular enemies that walk, normally and fire straight down at you or diagonal at you. And then you have enemies that run across the screen firing left to right rapidly. And then you'll have an enemy in a window that will, after it appears 3 times in the window, it will jump down to the ground. And then that's the time to take it out. You can take those enemies out by jumping and shooting them, but it's really not recommended, as I find it easier just to focus on trying to spawn kill everything as soon as it appears, and jumping, jumping quite often to dodge. If you're not sure if a bullet's going to come out, jump anyway, just to make sure that you're, airborne. It makes you a lot harder to hit. I've rarely ever been shot while in the air, so it's actually a really effective way to dodge. I don't think it has any invincibility frames, but it just gets you out of the way of the bullets. Now, the hardest thing about this game, once you've memorized the way that the enemies spawn, you may not memorize where they spawn, because I didn't, but because it may be random, I'm not sure. But once you memorize the way the enemies appear on screen and get used to taking them out quickly with those diagonal shots mainly, you don't want to fire straight up at the enemies too often, because it leaves you open to get shot. So I try to kill everything with diagonal shots mainly. That's my recommendation. But the bosses are the hardest part of the game. See, this is already the last stage, so I didn't really get a chance to explain all my strats, but the bosses were the main challenge of the game. I got used to taking out the enemies, fairly quickly. Maybe within 30 minutes or so of playing the game, I got pretty good at that. But the problem was always when the bosses would appear. So those can be hard, but the bosses are always the same pretty much. They take, I think, a little bit more hits to kill after the first stage. It seems like they take a little longer to kill. So maybe they gain a little health with each new stage. I'm not exactly sure. But the strategies are pretty much the same with them. And you'll see a better idea of it here, I think, in this final stage. But it's pretty much going to be the same for all the bosses. It's pretty much the same boss each time. Now, sometimes if you do well, I think a woman appears instead of a man as the boss. And I always seem to have more trouble with her. But I'm not sure if there's really a difference. It's hard to tell. You can also grab these bombs, and you can jump and then hit the fire button and throw the bombs. But get rid of them fast, because they will blow you up. You see, I got killed by the boss, and there's not really any checkpoints in the stages, but if there is, they send you really far back. So after you kill a certain amount of enemies is when the boss appears. That's how that works, I believe. And it doesn't tell you how many, but it can go on for a while. But the bombs are good to clear out enemies. Just make sure you jump to throw them, and then, when you land, you want to jump again just to make sure there's no bullets popping out that will shoot you as you land. So, it helps to do that. But see, I killed the bosses pretty quick in this playthrough, so there wasn't much time to explain the strategy. You can dance with them and dodge their shots, though, if you need to. You can actually jump to try to dodge their shots, and then when you get an opening, you want to try to fire off some diagonal shots and land some hits on them. Or if you get it just right, you'll see, and if you rewind the video, you'll see that if you fire straight up right where the boss is about to stand, you can get in a bunch of free shots sometimes, and you can even take them out sometimes. So, it's not always easy to do that. I couldn't always do it consistently, but it was something that I always tried to go for. I always try to take the bosses out as quick as possible, because the longer they're alive, the more problems they cause. And I usually try to take the bosses out mostly with diagonal shots, like I do with the enemies. But I will fire some straight-up shots right when the boss appears. See, like that, I tried to get in a few straight shots. But you can actually do it even sooner, right when the boss appears. But it is hard to take them out. But it's mainly going to be practice. You can earn you earn a 1-up at 20,000 points, but I wasn't able to earn any more after that. So that may be the only 1-up you get from points. But I have gotten some 1-ups. I think they're pickups. A certain item that you pick up seems to give you a 1-up sometimes, and I don't know what it is. So you may want to try to pick up some of those items. You may be able to get an extra life, but it's very rare for me to get an extra life by picking up an item. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's mostly just going to be practice. You really just need to practice. I would recommend using save states to practice the bosses, because that was the thing that gave me the most trouble. So try to get used to dealing with the bosses and taking them out as quickly as possible. And you should be able to beat it with enough persistence. If you have any questions, let me know, and thanks for watching.